Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. I hope you all have had a safe and blessed weekend. I'd like to bring you said information by Axios. This storyline is pertaining to Derek Chauvin and the other former Minneapolis officers who aided and abetted the murder of George Floyd last May 25th, 2020. Axios is the source. Derek Chauvin, 3 former officers indicted on federal civil rights charges. A federal grand jury Friday has indicted Derek Chauvin and 3 other former Minneapolis officers for civil rights violations related to the death of George Floyd. Why it matters. The new charges mean the officers could face another higher profile criminal trial following a year-long racial reckoning across the nation. Details. The grand jury indicted Chauvin in 2 cases for kneeling on Floyd's neck for over 9 minutes in May 2020 and for a similar arrest of a 14-year-old boy in 2017. Tori, thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. Thank you so much, honey. In the latter, court documents show that Chauvin hit the teen with his flashlight before grabbing him by the throat and hitting him again, the Star Tribune reports. The federal indictment charges the other 3 officers, J. Alexander Quinn, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tell, with violating Floyd's right to be free from unreasonable seizure and excessive force. What they're saying: we are encouraged by these charges and eager to see continued justice in this historic case that will impact Black citizens and all Americans for generations to come, the Floyd family's legal team said in a statement. Flashback. Chauvin was convicted on charges of murder and manslaughter in April after a month-long trial. Federal officials had planned to arrest him at the courthouse if the case ended in a mistrial or not guilty verdict, per the Star Tribune. State prosecutors are seeking a tougher sentence for Chauvin following the verdict. The 3 other officers are set to go to trial in August for aiding and abetting murder and manslaughter. And if you need to verify this said information, thank you, Edward. Thank you so much, baby. Thank you so much. And happy Mother's Day to your mother as well. In this said article by Axios, you will see the federal indictment, the case number, and the said allegations against Chauvin in the said document. And it also has an editor's note that says this story has been updated with the statement from the Floyd family legal team, if you need verification. So Derek Chauvin and 3 former Minneapolis police officers have been indicted on federal civil rights charges. Hello. Hi, Terry. Happy Mother's Day. Missing you too, honey. Derek Chauvin and 3 other officers that were there when Chauvin kneed George Floyd, those said officers and Derek Chauvin have now been indicted on federal civil rights charges, and Axios is the source for the said information. I will be bringing you some other news updates as well. Most of you know about the story about the young Knoxville teen boy who was shot in the bathroom at Austin East Magnet High School here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now the school board has decided to not have further resource officers in the said school, aided by the Knoxville Police Department. So this is just a crazy situation that I think is ridiculous, because we need security, and I would prefer it be a sworn officer in the school instead of a random person as a security officer. Hello, everybody. And I think it's so ridiculous because of this shooting of the student in the restroom. Now the school board has decided not to have officers in the schools in Knoxville city schools and possible Knox County. I will bring you that said information. WVLT 8 is the source. We hate that it's come to this. Teachers respond to KPD officers leaving schools. Coates and the chief are both calling on parents, staff, and teachers for more community input moving forward. Knoxville Mayor India Kincannon and Police Chief Eve Thomas both announced their intention to pull KPD officers from Knox County schools on June 12th. The announcement sparked educators to ask leaders to reconsider. Tanya Coates, president of the Knox County Education Association, told WVLT News officers in the schools offer more than safety. We hate that it's come to this, Coates said. It gave us a peace of mind knowing that someone was in the vicinity and able to protect and serve the school when we are trying to teach. Cole said now isn't the time to lose KPD presence in schools. The 25-year educator said the key to building police and the community relationship starts with how the youth views the men and women in uniform. And I agree. If we're not informing these relationships and having these positive interactions with officers in the schools, by having them present in our schools, we could see there will be a setback, Coates said. According to a newly unsigned Knox County Schools law enforcement contract yet to be voted on, board members want to create a task force that can identify the community's priorities and perspectives around security. The contract hopes to take a different approach to how officers serve students, specifically those of color. Police Chief Eve Thomas said while the board makes their decision, the department will its own priorities. And this, it says Coates and the chief are both calling on parents, staff, and teachers for more community input moving forward. This information is by WVLT 8. So the decision has been made by the mayor, India Kincannon, and the Knoxville Police Chief Eve Thomas, their intention to pull KPD officers out of Knox County schools on June 12th. So that would be Knox County and also Knoxville City, assumingly, because Austin East Magnet is in the Knoxville City limits, the city jurisdiction. I think this is a very bad move to remove police officers out of the school. Hello, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies in the chat. Thank you so much. It's a very stupid idea because, like I said in my previous lives uploads, Mr. Thompson walked into that schoolhouse with a gun. So whatever happened was on his own decision making because he had no business in the schoolhouse with the weapon. And that's nothing to even continue arguing about. Many people will bicker back and forth about what actually took place in that restroom. But like I said, he took the gun to the school. Anything could have happened to him in the school, outside of the school. He had no business with the gun. He also had an altercation allegedly with the girlfriend, which led to this apprehension of him in the said restroom. They tried to take him out of the restroom and a gun went off on his persons. So an officer shot back. And as I stated, it happened so quick. It's just a very tragic situation. But in the end, Mr. Thompson went on his own admission to the schoolhouse with the said weapon, and nor was he of legal age to carry, operate a gun, nor license, nor permit. That's the said information pertaining to that. Okay. I brought you all a story a few months ago pertaining to incidents pertaining to Asian Americans, elderly Asian Americans in the Bay Area of California. And there has been more incidents that have occurred here recently pertaining to Asian Americans being attacked on the West Coast and the East Coast and other said cities. And I'm going to bring you that said information. This is by ABC News. Man charged with premeditated attempted murder and stabbing of Asian women. The man who allegedly stabbed two elderly Asian women in San Francisco earlier this week is now facing multiple charges, including premeditated attempted murder, prosecutors announced on Thursday. Patrick Thompson, 54, was charged with 2 counts of premeditated attempted murder and 2 counts of elder abuse, with enhancements for great bodily injury, great bodily injury on elders, and personal use of a deadly weapon in the brutal knife attack, San Francisco District Attorney Chisa Booten said. The women's ages 84 and 63 were stabbed shortly before 5 p.m. Tuesday, San Francisco police said. And in this said article, oh mercy, it's just ridiculous. Both victims were hospitalized. The 84-year-old's injuries were at first considered life-threatening. She's since been upgraded to non-life-threatening condition, police said. The 63-year-old's injuries are non-life-threatening, police said. One victim was stabbed in the lungs, and a knife had to be removed from the second at the hospital, according to the district attorney's office. The district attorney is not releasing the victims' names. In 2017, a judge found Thompson incompetent to stand trial during court proceedings for several cases, according to the district attorney's office. He was transferred to Napa State Hospital, and then after returning to custody, started participating in a state mental health diversion program in October 2018. The office said a judge granted a motion for him to leave the program after nearly 2 years, during which time he was not charged with any new offenses, though he was arrested for missing court and for possessing a drug pipe, the office said. What happened is a devastating tragedy, and we will use the full force of our office's resources to prosecute this case. We also need to work hard to stop the next crime from happening, and that involves prevention and treatment, Booten's office said in a statement. We need far more intensive tools that keep people who are mentally ill treated and supported so that they do not reoffend even when there is no pending criminal case. The stabbing was the latest in a spate of violence against Asian Americans across the nation. The coronavirus pandemic and the suspected origins of the Chinese city of Wuhan are cited as leading to the tide of anti-Asian discrimination. There were more than 6,600 hate incidents against Asians and Pacific Islanders reported to Stop AAPI Hate, a nonprofit organization that tracks such incidents. Between mid-March 2020, when the pandemic began, and March 31st, 2021, about 40% of the incidents were reported in California. ABC News is the source for the said information. So as I stated to you all, I brought you information a few months ago about some robberies and attacks against Asian Americans in the Bay Area and the state of California. But that suspect, he was apprehended. And now we have another incident of a man who obviously is ill, has had some issues with the law, and has taken upon himself to go out and stab some women at a bus stop in San Francisco. And as I stated, the district attorney said they expected to give the charges on Thursday, which has just passed. And this man is Patrick Thompson, 54 years of age, charged with 2 counts of premeditated attempted murder and 2 counts of elder abuse with enhancements for great bodily injury on elders, and personal use of a deadly weapon. And this is from the state's attorney's office, San Francisco district attorney. Yes, it is very sad, because there's no reason to be out here stabbing people, period, for whatever reason, whether you don't like them, you think their race, their nationality is behind the pandemic that has plagued our great nation and other countries in the world. It's not their fault. And it is a shameful act to offend, assault, beat, stab an elderly person. I don't give a damn what their age is, what their nationality is. But it's, yes, but an elderly person indeed is more detrimental to harm an elderly or child, because it's just uncalled for. And I pray that this man goes to prison, because my thing is, you can't keep using mental instability as an excuse to go out here and harm innocent civilians. It has to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if he is incarcerated and gets the treatment that he needs while incarcerated. And how that goes, I do not know, because naturally there are a lot of people who do have mental problems that are incarcerated. So I don't know the guidelines and protocols as far as funding for these people to get the said treatment while incarcerated, because we do have a high influx of inmates in our prison system here in the United States. So you're talking about a lot of people needing therapy for their various deviances, which got them into the prison in the first place, jail as well. That is my third update. So I've brought you said information about this stabbing in the San Francisco area. ABC News is the source. I also brought you information pertaining to the high schooler young man who was shot in school. And because of that shooting, now the chief of police and the mayor have made a statement to pull Knoxville Police Department out of the city schools and county schools, which I think is a disgrace. And it's an ignorant move, because we need the resources in the school. We don't need random security people in the school policing the school. We need actual officers. And like I said, the school did drop the ball by not having the appropriate security checks. So this young man would not have entered the school with a gun. And they didn't properly seal the restroom, because there was also another black male child in the restroom who was believed to be the suspect's cousin, but he did not get harmed in this altercation, and nor did he have a weapon. That was never mentioned, nor did he intervene in this shooting of the young man in the restroom. And then my first story is the headliner of the video. Derek Chauvin and 3 other officers, Minneapolis Police Department, former officers, are now being indicted on federal charges, discrimination against George Floyd, federal charges. And that's probably the best news I've heard. Federal civil rights charges, excuse me. That's the said information. Seems like oxymoron to pull officer. Well, it was a bad decision. They should have never done that. Should not have done that. I'm just going to bring up all the updates that I have so far. And then there was some information pertaining to the shooting that took place out west. I have not brought you that update. I'm a little bit behind. This is pertaining to the 6th grade girl who was arrested after shooting some students and a janitor at the school out west. 6th grade girl arrested after shooting 2 students, custodian at Idaho Middle School. A 6th grade girl brought a gun into Rigby Middle School and shot and wounded 2 students and a custodian before being disarmed by a teacher on Thursday, according to the Associated Press. The 3 victims were shot in their extremities and are expected to survive, officials said at a news conference. Dr. Michael Lehman, the trauma medical director at Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center, said both of the students who were shot were being held at the hospital overnight and one of them might need surgery. The school custodian was treated for a bullet wound to an extremity and released. Jefferson County Sheriff Steve Anderson said the girl pulled a handgun from her backpack and fired multiple rounds inside and outside the school before a female disarmed her and pinned her down until the law enforcement arrived and arrested her. Kudos to that teacher. Me and my classmate were just in class with our teacher. We were doing work, and then all of a sudden, there was a loud noise, and then there were 2 more loud noises, 12-year-old Yandel Rodriguez said. Then there was screaming. Our teacher went to check it out, and he found blood. And this is an update comment, because this is a couple days old. And this is from the Jefferson School District. We want to thank the community for all your support. All schools will be closed tomorrow, but counselors will be available from 8 to 4 p.m. at Rigby High. Counselors will continue to be available as needed. School will resume Monday, May 10th. And today is Sunday, May 9th. This is the original story. A gunman has been taken into custody after shooting 2 students and a custodian at Idaho Middle School in Thursday, according to the Associated Press. Jefferson County Sheriff Steve Anderson said the victims' injuries were not believed to be life-threatening. While the investigation is still underway, multiple members of law enforcement reported to the Rigby Middle School in Rigby, Idaho. Students were evacuated to a nearby high school when the parents arrived on the scene to be reunited with their children. Today, we had the worst nightmare a school district could encounter, Jefferson School District Superintendent Chad Martin said. We had a school shooting here at Rigby Middle School. What we know so far is the shooter has been apprehended. There's no further threat to the students. The AP reports the shooting appears to be the state's 2nd school shooting after a high school student in Notice, Idaho, fired a shotgun several times and injured a fellow student by ricocheting debris from the first shell. I'm praying for the lives and safety of those involved in today's tragic events, Republican Governor Brad Little said in a prepared statement. Thank you to our law enforcement agencies and school leaders for their efforts in responding to the incident. Okay. This is by a national news alert. So they've only had 2 shootings in this state, it appears, involving the school system. And the first one was in Notice, Idaho. So they don't get a lot of, I guess, assumingly, this is from this article, shootings of students going into the schoolhouse shooting. So Idaho is one of those far off, barren places. Not a lot of foot traffic, not like big cities or small cities, perhaps. So they don't have a lot of student violence. And thank God for that. But I bring you this information because it's sad to me. Once again, another school story. Then it's involving a girl child, 6th grade. Why the hell is a child of 11, 12 years old shooting other students and faculty, staff workers in the school. What was so terrible that day that she went into the school and felt the need to go into that school with a gun? Where did she get the gun? Who gave her the gun? Did she steal the gun from a parent or someone's home? This is baffling to me that a girl child now has joined the ranks of boys, young men, in gun violence in a schoolhouse. This is sickening. This is sickening. This has got to stop. These young people thinking that the way to solve their issues, their mishaps with others, be it bullying, insecurities, wanting to prove a point, be a badass, this is not the way. This is not the way to solve your problems. It's getting a gun and going to the schoolhouse and rectifying the situation that you deemed terrible, horrible, whatever it may be. Carrying a gun into school is not the answer, and nor is it the answer for an adult to take a gun to the table to settle your differences with people. This is why we have so many dead people in the cemetery, because somebody decided they didn't want to play fair. They just want to go shoot the person, people, and then that's the end of the story. Now, I believe in self-defense. I believe in keeping a weapon in your home for your safety, for you and your family. But I also believe that there are certain people who are operating or have the capacity, or let's just say have access to a weapon. They are not fit to have a weapon. So when we judge people in the street for shooting up people, schoolhouses, jobs, gang violence, street violence, you also need to put in there citizens who are allegedly law-abiding and they have weapons. Hello, Wes, thank you. And they don't have any business with a gun, so they're no different than the gangbanger, wannabe gangbanger, thug. It's all the same to me. There are people who are not mentally stable, who have access to guns legally and illegally, and have no business with a weapon. No business. Because people are now gun-happy, gun-toting citizens, and as soon as they have a disagreement with someone over anything, petty or not, first thing they do is reach for their gun, be it on their person's purse, glove box, under the car seat, trunk, safe, desk, wherever the incident is transpiring. Go get the gun. I'll show you. Well, now we have a 12-year-old girl who showed 2 students and a janitor what she's made of. Now those people will be traumatized. And I do not know the circumstances of the shooting. When I get an update, I will bring you an update to what is suspected, the reasoning behind the shooting. I will bring you that said information. But all in all, taking a gun to school by a child is not the answer to solve any type of discrepancies between students, faculty, staff. And I don't recommend it for adults either. Those are my updates thus far pertaining to national news here in America. And this is just a sick situation. If you need verification for the story, National News Alert is the source for this shooting that took place in Idaho by a 6th grade girl. And naturally, she'll probably be in juvenile hall because she's underage, and they will assess her mental state as far as how they will try her. 12 years old, I don't know what the laws are in Idaho, if she'll be charged as an adult or if she will be charged as a child. But nonetheless, when she turns 18, if she's not charged as an adult, this will be sealed, this incident that took place in Idaho. And God forbid someone gets her legal name, and they will share it because people love sharing things on social media. It will follow her because somebody will spill the tea and tell, oh, that's the young lady that shot those people at that school, 2 students and a janitor. And it will follow her because information gets out. There's no such thing as secrets and sealing records. It's always a tattleteller who will be glad to give the 411 pertaining to something that's supposed to be a hidden information. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you so much. Yes, excuse my manners. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies in the chat and around the world. Happy Mother's Day. I hope all of you are safe. And you ladies who are getting out today for dinner, brunch, or whichsoever, please be safe. And I hope your kids did right by you and brought you some goodies, some nice goodies, because it is always nice to be thought of, even when it is not a national holiday. We have 364 other days of the year that we should be valued as people, human beings, mothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, and so forth. Always keep that in mind, that we should value each other on the other 364 days of the year when it is not, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Father's Day, 4th of July. It's all the same. If you do celebrate these said holidays, that people are valuable every day. That's my said information. And that's my message today. Today is a day to celebrate mothers, those who have taken on the role as a mother, that, life is short and somebody didn't get up this morning. Somebody didn't see Mother's Day. Somebody is mourning their mother. Someone just lost a mother yesterday or possibly passed today, a year ago, but they're still in mourning. They don't have their mother. They long for their mother. And that's what we should be focused on, is living, because life is short. We're not guaranteed to see tomorrow. And the petty things that we thrive on that get under our skin and get us riled up, it's not worth the time. It's not worth the effort. And as you see in these storylines I've brought you today, a lot of these people are lost vessels. They didn't have anything to focus on. So that's why they now are a national news story, because they lost their way. And you don't want to be one of those people. And that's the thing people don't understand about people. We are all human. We're vulnerable. And we can also end up a news story, Facebook story, YouTube story, because we didn't have our bearings about ourselves. But we're just a lost cause and just didn't give a damn. So we didn't mind making the news. Please try not to be one of those people. But happy Mother's Day to all the ladies in the chat and around the world today. Thank you so much. And that's all the information I have today. It's just that we need to, do better as a people. We need to try to watch our tongue, our temperaments, how we deal with people, so we can live longer, have a prosperous life, attempt to have a prosperous life. And as I state, there are people who don't really care about living, and they show you that in their demeanor, in their walk, and their talk, their spirit every day. But I was talking to someone yesterday about what I do here on YouTube, and he was saying, well, with the issue with Derek Chauvin, you should be asking the people, white people, how do they feel about the death of George Floyd by Chauvin and the other 3 officers, because there have been some white people who have rallied and protested for equal rights for Black people. And I said, yes, I know this. I said, but there are also some white people who don't give a damn and they don't care. And that's just a spoken word. That is 400-something years later, after slavery, and we are still public enemy number 1 and deemed irrelevant and below standard as African-American citizens. And I didn't say this to him because I didn't feel like debating the issue, but I have people in my chat who are white, Caucasian, other races, and they don't agree with what happened to George Floyd, the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd. They don't agree with what happened to him. And in the end, if I discuss, hey, how do you white people feel about the death of George Floyd? Do you think it's right? Do you agree it was the right thing to do by Chauvin? What will it accomplish? Because in the end, as I told him, there will always be some people, Caucasian, who think what Chauvin did to George Floyd was appropriate behavior. And that's the bottom line. There's always going to be a few. There may be even some Black people who agree with the murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin and the 3 officers, because everyone's entitled to his or her opinion. Thank you, Terry. But the video speaks for itself. Whether you want to say he was disorderly or not, there was no way that should have ever transpired, that death. Because I've seen way worse things on video where an officer could have easily snapped and harmed a civilian during an arrest or questioning. Because there are some people who have been vile 2 police officers during questioning and an arrest. And those people are alive today. They're not beat up. They're not missing an eye. They weren't choked out. They weren't kneed to the neck, hog-tied, none of that. They are alive and well. So as I state, the video speaks for itself. I want to thank you all for joining me. This should be a happy day for the mothers in America and abroad, because I know naturally in other places they don't celebrate it on this day, but here in America, this should be a great day for a mother to be acknowledged by her children, family, and the world. And I pray that all mothers today are safe and having a good time today. And I want to thank you all for joining me on this live. I wanted to hurry up and get that information out because I was a couple of days behind. I was a bit busy this weekend. So I said, let me get this information out to the fans and to the tube. And I thank you all for joining me. I hope all the ladies are having a wonderful, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies in the chat. Hello, Miss Terry. Happy Mother's Day to you. Hope your children are showing you favor today, Miss Terry. I thank all of you for joining me. As I stated, I will bring you an update to all these stories that I just brought you pertaining to Derek Chauvin and the 3 officers, former officers, excuse me. They have now been indicted on federal civil rights charges. I brought you a story about a man who is in charge in California with attempted murder on elderly Asian women. The student who shot 2 other students and a janitor in Idaho. And also KPD and the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, Ms. Kincannon, have decided to end the police department's presence in Knoxville City and County schools, which I think is a farce and disrespectful to the students and the staff and the community, just because this child was shot in the bathroom at a high school. That has nothing to do with the other people who want safety while they are going to work and going to school. And that is just a poor excuse for government and people in a official capacity to make a decision or try to make that decision to disband Knoxville Police Department presence in the school. It's just ridiculous to me. And my thing is, if you take them out of the school, then what will you have? You're going to then hire random people who don't know anything about law enforcement, walk into school halls trying to enact some type of justice in the school. I don't see it working, and it's no shade to people who do security work, but I would prefer to have a police officer in the school system, more than one, especially in inner city schools. You need more security staff, police officers in the school. You need the security batons to wave over a person's coming in and out of the school. And then there needs to be those metal detectors that you walk through. Every school should have that. It doesn't matter if you're in the inner city or small towns, small suburb. It doesn't matter if your city or town doesn't have a lot of crime. It's principle. It's principle. It's principle. Thank you all for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. You all have a safe and blessed week. I'll be back. Thanks again.